Well, we're going to have a digression quick about Marvel. A lot of Marvel media, I would say, right now. And we're going to talk about
Yeah.
Loki, maybe discuss some of the stuff in the Marvels, and what is next as far as where they can go with their story. And, I mean, maybe speculate on what's down the road. So be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. I, like Wilson, I finished Loki, and I actually really enjoyed how they stuck the landing on the
Yeah.
finale. It's it's probably up there as my favorite um, series finale for a Marvel show. Um,
Right.
it had Loki as a character since the start of Avengers. To me, he was a great villain. He had a great motivation, and in this show, you really got a chance to get to know him as just a guy. I mean, he is a god, but you got a chance to know his sadness, his thoughts on relationships with people and things like that, and his general disposition. And this finale kind of hit home with the culmination of his main issues of like how he came around on a lot of these characters. He was fighting against them, the people in the TVA, but then he slowly became friends, like deep, like friends with them. And the the cool thing is that he doesn't get a perfect ending. He gets a very bittersweet ending, but also an interesting one where they can go forward with still incorporating him into the MCU, which is what I think is kind of interesting about where we leave him in the series. And a lot of people
He
have been,
does achieve a glorious purpose.
yeah, and that's a really interesting thought because the whole show was built around that glorious purpose line from Avengers,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
The first episode was called Glorious Purpose, and then like the Ouroboros, it came back and ate its own tail, and this episode, the finale, was called Glorious Purpose, and it all came together where he confronted the Kang, or a variant, and then
Yeah.
Kang kind of told him that this is, you think I didn't plan for this? Like, you needed to do this. And he was kind of kicking rocks, like, I don't really want to lose my friends and my relationships and things like that. But then he found that the glorious purpose was for him to become the new god of, basically, what I really liked was that
Multiverse.
it was he's the god of the multiverse, but also a lot of people have been saying he's the god of stories now, right? So in that one
Um,
comic book run, he makes mention, he's like, I have a new story to write or something like that. And so he
hmm
kind of turns into that kind of version of Loki, where he becomes the god of stories and not the god of mischief.
Yep.
He rewrites
Making sure
his,
they exist. Making
yeah.
sure the stories exist.
And then what I really thought was kind of cool is that the aesthetic of like that Yggdrasil kind of thing that he creates at the end of the
Yeah.
season reminded me a lot of Final Fantasy VII and the life stream, because like those
Right.
strands and those things like that were flowing and kind of keeping things alive, essentially, and keeping this reality or whatever alive, kind of like the live stream was. But yeah, that's sort of where I'm at with the story. Is like I kind of liked where they left him, a bittersweet ending
Right.
for the character, but also very interesting to come back and utilize him in some
Well,
form.
not totally taking him off the board. You know what I mean?
Right. Um,
Nobody's ever really gone,
yeah.
Yeah.
especially if they are having any sort of discussion of bringing back somebody like Robert Downey Jr. or Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, and
Somehow Loki returned.
you can kind of
I
do
think
that. you can kind of have
With,
this heat death of this reset kind of thing be incorporated too, because I can see them kind of using this as a tool to finish off this multiverse kind of thread.
yeah.
Like Loki's like, all right, I'm in charge of the multiverse, and there might be like some kind of like, I'm gonna hit the reset button on everything, and then just kind of
Well,
focus it
that's kind of
down.
what Secret Wars is, right?
Yeah, it's a
Like,
perfect through line to Secret Wars.
but what did I say? Yeah, and then there's that news that came out about the Robert Downey Jr. like getting the original Avengers back. I was like, I'm like, this is just for Secret Wars. This isn't like people like they're assuming they're coming back for some big whatever or gonna come back as whatever. And I was like, no, this is just probably gonna be Secret Wars, where they just a multiversal variant of those characters that are gonna pop up. You know what I mean? Because that was like, I remember way back when we were talking about Secret Wars when it was first announced. That's basically where we got to. Is like if they wanted to, they can dust off the old guard for or go around as multiversal variants
Yeah,
in the movie. You know?
yeah, and isn't all right, Bracho, talk to me a little bit about like the battle world and like
Yeah.
talk to me about uh, the version of Loki that becomes the true Avenger. What's it called? Like the
Oh,
Avenger
the
Prime,
yeah,
Avenger Prime, or something like
yeah,
that.
that was
Can
kind of dumb.
can they incorporate anything like that with where we leave Loki in
Well,
this?
yeah. Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, Battle World. I don't remember what the original Battle World was, but the one that's in the most recent, in the 2016 Secret Wars, which the lead up to that is very much what they're basing this stuff on with the incursions and stuff. Um, in that incursions are happening, they fail to like stop them. Like everything gets destroyed for lack of a better word. And Doom, using I think maybe Molecule Man or something like that, pulls together this world of fractured pieces, um, called Battle World, and it has a bunch of the different multiverse versions of characters on it. So like you have your mainstream character, and you might have one from like the Ultimate Universe or from some other multiverse stories, whatever, all on this one planet. Um, and with Doom as the like god of this planet, essentially. Um, so that's kind of Battle World. I mean, I could maybe turn Loki into the person that brings this, world together or whatever out of the ashes of the multiverse or whatever. I don't know. I mean, so I guess they could use him for that. Um, the Avenger Prime thing or whatever was part of the last run of Avengers, um, all over the place, and it was just basically like, yeah, I don't know how to describe because I didn't read it. It was basically like, yeah, like a squad of Avengers or a team of heroes from kind of outside the line, um, trying to keep stuff in check or whatever. I don't know exactly, but the found out Avenger Prime was Loki, um, which was somewhat fitting because just like in the movies, Loki was the first bad guy for the Avengers in the comic books. So it's kind of, I guess, a fun little reversal. But
That's true. I
so
didn't
I
think
guess
about
maybe
that.
that could play. Hmm?
I didn't think about that. That's true.
Yeah. Um,
Put that thing down, flip
I
it, and
guess
reverse it.
they could yeah they could play into that. They could even merge that into the world thing with the different versions of heroes and stuff. But so yeah, that's possible. Um, yeah, I don't know. You could do a lot. Um, but I assume they're going to base most of the Secret Wars stuff coming out off the 2016 stuff. Because, like I said, the incursions and whatnot, except replace Doom with, I don't know if, well, at least the original intention of having Kang be that or what, but because now there's just a story that came out. There's that person that wrote that Marvel book, Marvel Studios book, that exposed a bunch of stuff, and she's been the one exposing a bunch of the tidbits, like the, wanting to get Johansson and Downey and all those guys back, and like all that stuff. She was just saying she heard from an insider that Marvel's fired the person they had writing Secret Wars, who was the guy who wrote Quantumania. And they said the reasoning is because they're going to move on from Majors and Kang as the bad guy because of everything, because of the underperformances and of his his stuff going on.
It's personal stuff.
Yeah. Which again, take it with a grain of salt, but
it's just too much for them to probably, navigate through. It's probably too hectic for them.
His big debut being a huge flop with Quantumania and all that stuff, they might be like, well, maybe move on from Kang, which I don't know what they'd do if they would do Doom or something else.
That's what I was thinking. Like, could we drop Doom into this at some point?
Yeah.
We do have to establish Doom, but like,
right.
Somehow, maybe he just appears.
And is this like our main universe Doom, or is this a multiversal Doom that brings it together and just kind of sets up the idea for, the eventual Fantastic Four? But
I did enjoy the finale episode of Loki more than I had some of the other like previous episodes of this season, but
that's kind of why I haven't finished it. It's because the first half of the season was boring as hell for me. So
yeah, it
wasn't bad. It just didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, some of it is like a mile wide, an inch deep to me.
Yeah,
just because it's dealing with like time travel, different dimensions, time loops, and things like this. There's so much that just gets like swept under the rug with tiny little throwaway lines, and
right.
It just seems.
Well, sorry, continue.
No, it's okay. I just like clearly they've been making a big deal for a long time, ever since Loki season 1, or maybe even like Endgame, about like timelines and branching timelines and all this shit. It's just so complicated, man. I don't want to worry about that. I just want to watch characters that I like and that I like enjoy watching their performance. I just want to have characters and actors having a good time. I'm really starting to be like disinterested in the overall MCU stuff.
Well, yeah, and especially considering just it blew my mind. Well, not blew my mind. It kind of made sense, but I was like, why is Marvel doing multiverse stuff? Because it's just like that was never Marvel's bag. You know what I mean? Like they did stuff here and there, but like that was always DC's thing, right? It was multiverse shenanigans. And like, I mean, like you got, maybe character from another universe here and there, or like or a different dimension, whatever. Or like sometimes you'd get, I guess you could count what ifs as alternate universes back in the day, but like the closest being an alternate universe story being, or a big story being like Secret Wars, the 2016 one. But even that, it wasn't focused on the people from those other universes until Secret Wars happened, and then it was all those people together. But like the lead up to it had nothing to, didn't have much for characters from those other universes showing up or anything. It was just once it happened and Battle World existed, then all of a sudden you had all these people from the different universes together. But like,
Yeah.
so yeah, it just I was just like, why multiverse? But I guess then they harangued Kang into the whole deal because he was never
Mhm.
a multiversal character. I mean, you had the Council of Kangs, which was, I guess, but like Kang himself, as we've talked about before, like those different versions that you meet aren't multiversal versions; they're just him from different points in time. Um, he's more a time
Mhm.
traveler character than a multiverse character. Um, it's like this is weird because like there's the youngest versions, Iron Lad from the Young Avengers, who eventually becomes Kid Immortus, and then you have fucking Ramatut, and then after that, when he leaves from ancient Egypt, then he becomes Scarlet Centurion, and then after that, he becomes Kang, and after that, he becomes Immortus, and so it's just those different versions are just him at different points in his life instead of different universes. Um, which I guess makes it a little easier, I guess, to explain because just trying to explain Kang ever to some headache and a half. But so just saying, oh, he's from another universe makes it a little easier, I guess. But still, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I've kind of like you, Wilson, where I've just kind of become disinterested, and it's not, superhero fatigue necessarily because I still like superhero content. It's just the they've just kind of been on standby and kind of idling since Endgame happened, and trying to
Mhm.
find their footing, I guess, again with all the main people being gone,
Yeah.
and it just hasn't. There's been no cohesion between anything, even though they've tried to make everything tied together. There's no
Mhm.
real. I mean, between Shang-Chi and Eternals and the Black Widow movie and like
Fucking
and
even Black
the
Panther
TV
2.
shows and yeah, and like there's no cohesion there. There's nothing that feels like these movies should be existing together,
Mhm.
and there's nothing that really makes me excited for any of those newer characters to join together. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that kind of transitioning a little bit into the Marvels now, but like
Yeah.
Teyona Paris,
Yep.
with the way that like her character appeared first in WandaVision,
WandaVision.
and then didn't she also have a little show up in something else too?
Um.
But regardless, um, she at the end of
Maybe
that,
Secret Wars. I don't remember. Or I mean
yeah,
Secret Invasion, but I
yeah,
don't remember.
I don't know. I didn't watch Secret Invasion. I don't care to.
Oh.
Um, at the end of that show, they
Yep.
fucking dangled the hook again. They're like, "Hey, get ready for shit upcoming," and it feels like they just did nothing with it and landed her in the
Yeah.
same spot. So that to me is exactly what you're talking about, where there's like Asian, where it's like we introduced this character in this show, didn't do anything with them. We are releasing a new movie and we're saying, hey, here's this character that we introduced. We know you guys are all excited about it. We love her. You love her. And then the movie goes by and you're like, you still haven't done anything.
Yeah. And it's like they almost
Wasn't
like
she
they
in the
themselves have.
WandaVision show? Was that
Yeah.
what you said?
That's what.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she
She was
didn't.
on that first.
Well,
She
she
didn't.
debuted in that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um. Well, and like I don't. They've again learned the wrong lessons and like, oh, people like the connected whatever, but basically just making the movies and TV shows existing just to connect things together. Like the movies and TV shows themselves almost do nothing. You know, there's been a couple like I enjoyed WandaVision, I enjoyed most of Ms. Marvel. I enjoyed first season of Loki. Like there's things that I liked, but like
You like Moon Knight?
yeah, it was all right. It wasn't great.
There's certainly stuff to appreciate, but yeah, like just because one thing that has been baffling to me is like in all of these, there's there are ways that they try and connect things together by bringing back characters or mentioning other events. But then there's other things where it's like timeline wise, it's like after Endgame and all that, like people were gone for what, like 5 years, and they got fucking
Yeah.
brought back. So in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you've got like the people who were coming back from the snap displaced and how we're dealing with that. And then the Eternals, you have a giant Marvel Celestial in the ocean, Spider-Man Far From Home,
Which we've never addressed that Celestial.
But nobody, I mean, like in Miss Marvel, is that taking place after any of that shit went down with the Statue of Liberty? Is that stuff like I'm so confused on who knows what's going on in any of this other shit. So it all feels so muddled where I'm like, I don't know. This could be years down the road or something.
Yeah, because Ms. Marvel takes place like immediately before Marvels happens. That's weird. Someone pointed out too, is like they should have just made the story for Captain Marvel for the Marvels be Secret Invasion. Like why did that have to be its own show? You know?
Yeah.
Like it would have made more sense because I mean, I get it. Nick Fury is a main part of it with Captain Marvel, with the Skrull stuff, but like it would, since the Skrulls were a product of the Captain Marvel movie, why was she not involved in dealing? Why, you know what I mean? Why deal with a non-factor secondary, another like free bad guy? You know what I mean? Like why?
Is there anything left that they could do with like this multiverse stuff that would be impressive to you guys? Because I kind of feel like they've already blown their load.
No. The one thing that is happening that I like, and it was impressive just simply because it's kind of funny, is the Deadpool 3 stuff, where it's the decimation of the Fox Marvel characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I like that. I think it's funny because like we talked about it too, where there's the same location where we got the shot of Deadpool and Wolverine in costume. They also released, there was also a shot where it was the 20th Century Fox logo in stone, all in crumbles and stuff like that. Like that, I actually think is kind of fun. If only just because it's really fun to see those characters one more time and just kind of a silly setting. But
I'm going to assume that they're going to somehow like try and tie that into the rest of the multiverse stuff, so that Deadpool might show up in Secret Wars or something like that, or to help introduce X-Men to the MCU.
Yeah, because it is an MCU movie. So.
Yeah, so like I think no matter what, it's going to be fun just because we know that the people behind it are like doing it to have fun. They're not.
It's a meta thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and whatever is going to lead into or tie into the other MCU stuff, whatever. I don't care. It'll just be fun to watch Deadpool 3 because they'll be
that's
fun.
Yeah. Otherwise, multiverse stuff. That's it. I mean,
but we've had like.
It could be cool to see multiversal versions of characters.
Well, sure,
show up in Secret Wars, but that's like.
Well, we got some of that in
cosmetic
the Multiverse
aesthetic
of Madness, you know.
And yeah,
that's
already
some of it.
Yep, Across the Spider-Verse had some too, right? So.
And in Multiverse of Madness, we watch Doc and America like go through. They visit different dimensions, and like in the montage, it's
barely
striking. Yeah, exactly. It's like there's a montage, and some of that can be visually striking, but we don't really spend any time in any of those places. And the one place that they do end up is like, just a shade of color different.
Yep.
Right.
And like we spent time in the quantum realm and Quantumania. I just feel like, and then the credit scene of the Marvels where she's in whatever she's in. we've seen different versions of like, you know, the Illuminati. We've seen
Yeah.
a couple. Haven't we seen a couple different versions of like already determined heroes and stuff? But like, they've already blown their load. They've already shown. They were so fast to just start dumping this stuff on us. I don't feel like there's anything left in the chamber for them.
I was gonna say, for an era of the multiverse saga, there's not a lot about multiverse that's going on. Like, it exists in the periphery, and there's been a couple things that directly address it, but large, most movies have nothing to do with it.
What was Eternals then? Eternals had nothing to do with the multiverse.
No.
Black Panther 2 had nothing to do with
Shang-Chi. They somehow, because in the Marvels, they're like, hey, that weird fucking bracelet from Miss Marvel, hey, negabands, motherfucker. So unless they in the future say, oh, the 10 rings retroactively, those are now this, and that's how they influence the multiverse. That wasn't had nothing.
That's lazy.
No, they
But
that's the other thing too with the Marvels. It was bold of them to assume that your casual movie-going audience will have watched 2 of your TV shows before going to see this movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would literally have no idea who 2 of these characters are.
Yeah.
Unless you watch the TV shows.
I barely know who Carol Danvers is, so like it's really hard for me to push it to 2 more extras. Like if I didn't watch the show or if I didn't see WandaVision, like who is this?
Right.
And even in like when she was introduced, like Carol Danvers' character, when she was introduced into the Endgame kind of plot, I was like, just leave, get out of here. You're so like overpowered for this situation right now. You don't belong. It's really unnerving that they have to. I could tell the writers are forced to be like, well, her character had to be elsewhere, not helping these characters. I'm like, well, why should I care about her? Like, don't put her in then. If she's explaining away to the audience like, hey, there's other people that need my help too, not just Earth. I'm like, okay, like I don't care.
There's plenty of planets out there that don't have Avengers.
I'm like, just leave her out of the story then, like, because you have a perfect out with her. Like, all right, have her go toe up with Thanos.
Even though, like, I was gonna say, like, even though like that explanation of like, oh, it's a big universe, they don't all have Avengers stuff. I was like, well, you think she would have shown up at some point during like some of the Guardian stuff, you know?
Yeah,
that was out
in the universe.
Yeah,
wouldn't she theoretically have been like part of the Kree, or maybe she didn't get taken to, I don't know, Hala yet. They talk about
like
in the
when
Marvel,
Thanos like blew up the Asgardian ship, or like, you know what I mean? Like, it's all big shit that was happening up in space.
They mention in the Marvels, like in between, Carol went back to Hala and destroyed the, you know, what do they call it? The Supreme Intelligence.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been a more entertaining movie to see that and her struggle with like, oh, yeah, the Marvels wasn't a terrible movie. There have certainly been.
No, I've heard it's a fun movie.
It is. I mean, it's a fun watch. It's just like, don't expect.
I've heard it's borderline inconsequential to most things.
Does it have really any good needle drops?
No, not really. I mean, I'm not gonna. There's like a montage where they use the Beastie Boys Intergalactic, and that's like, okay. Oh. It's all very like, it's fun. They're having fun, and it's done well. I didn't really notice any like super janky CGI or anything like that. Like nothing stuck out as being like, oh my goodness. But at the same time, I was just like, oh this is just, I'm gonna forget about this.
Wasn't there a big focus on
just
the
like
cat?
I forgot about the first Captain Marvel movie.
Wasn't the cat a big focus too?
He got more, but that was probably
because shine in the first one too, though. So.
Yeah, but he got like more in this one. I don't know why specifically, but like
because it's a gimmick.
Maybe because maybe they just had to even out the ratio. Like if you're taking away Samuel L. Jackson, if you're getting less of him, we're going to give you more Cat.
Oh,
Yeah, makes sense.
The,
Um,
the Dar-Ben, I think her name is
sure.
the
The bad guy.
the bad guy from
Ronan the
Marvels.
Accuser variant.
Yeah.
Her whole thing is like she's trying to save Hala, and the way that she's doing it has nothing to do with the. It's like they really, really had to stretch to get it intersecting with multiverse or like incursions or different dimensions. They really had to push that.
Is anybody
Right.
gonna remember Dar-Ben in like the 2 movies from now? Like,
Well,
No,
no.
and that's the thing. The problem with making a Captain or like a Carol Danvers Captain Marvel movie is she has no bad guys that anybody knows. You know what I mean? Like you can have her deal with the Kree and the Skrulls because that's all Captain Marvel purview. But like any other characters, there's not much. You know what I mean?
Then what can you do with like, instead of having villains? Can't they do something where she has to go save other worlds from cataclysmic events because she has this crazy
Something without a
cosmos
central villain.
without a villain, and have her
Yeah, you could
motivations
sell
be
the
like
antagonist,
a
but
tragedy, like a huge event's going to happen
yeah,
far off in the galaxy that she has to go help
right.
mitigate. Like those things are still compelling because she has to weigh the options of making these hard choices, like pulling the trolley lever. It's like what do I have to compromise, or what can I do here? I
Right.
can't be everywhere at once. I'm not a god, or other things like that. Like just
Yeah.
half-assing.
You can do things without an arch nemesis or something.
Exactly.
In it,
Stop trying to make that happen. Like
Yeah.
it'd be more
Which is-
compelling, when she has to make these
especially since
decisions.
Marvel just notoriously, the MCU notoriously has terrible villains. So
I think they kind of, but this is probably because it was like James Gunn, and he really had a tight grip on the thing at the time. Having just recently rewatched it, I think that they did execute on the kind of thing that you guys are talking about exactly with Guardians of the Galaxy.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Where this cast of characters, like to the general audience, was completely unknown. Even Ronan the Accuser,
Yep.
And I'm not going to say that he's like their bad guy. He's typically like just fucking with anybody in space, I guess.
right.
So you don't necessarily, and like Star-Lord, he's like the lead of the movie. He's not going like him and Ronan aren't button heads. They're trying to stop him to stop all this cataclysmic, death and everything. But yeah, you want to go to a superhero movie to see a superhero use their superpowers, but then at the same time, we're getting like, oh god, what the fuck are they going to do with that? I don't even know what her name is. Emilia Clarke from Secret Invasion, where she's got
Kira.
every superpower ever. Like,
Yeah, all of a sudden just became the strongest out of nowhere, and it's a character that just was created for this TV show.
you can't ever bring her back. Please don't do that, because it's going to be the same fucking thing as Captain Marvel. What can we do with her? Nothing.
Yep. Especially
She's
when
just a plot device.
who don't have
She's a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
when they're
She's
when they're
the Deus Ex
well,
Machina.
they're people who don't have. It's different if it's something like Superman or something like that who has an established set of people who can take him out. You know what I mean? Like there are characters and ways to take Superman out where you don't have to shunt him off somewhere all the time. Like
Yeah, you just make that guy depressed. I think you could be a good villain against Superman.
Oh yeah.
There's so many things that you could say to him, like, well, let me play devil's advocate with you, buddy. And then you just kind of force him into some kind of depressed state where he's like, I don't want to go fight. You're like, yeah, you better not.
One way to like see that's the thing about Superman though is that
Carol doesn't have that, and neither does Kira. Like there's no counterpoint to them.
Well, even if there isn't, like Superman is a good example because we know we have to know what the most important thing is to this superhero character, and like that can be the most defining thing, and they don't even have to have a villain for that reason. Nope. Like Superman,
you can have that stuff get threatened.
Yeah, exactly. I mean? I forget what they say it in, but like Superman at some point is like, look, I'm bulletproof, but you are not. So if I'm fighting bad guys and the bullets are bouncing off of me, they could hit you. And there's like damage there. there are situations where no matter how powerful you are, you can't do anything, and
Yep.
that
And
is
the best thing with Superman combining those two things
Mhm.
is taking someone who can beat his ass, which there are plenty, um, or and then combining that with threatening those that he cares about or the things, you know what I mean? Like, but you have in this situation, um, you know, with Carol from the get go, really, she doesn't have anybody, right? Like, just kind of her, and then Maria. But once all that stuff happens, Maria's gone. It's just her.
but she doesn't have any real
She's got
like
Monica, I guess,
motivation either, does she? Because
but no,
what would you say is Carol's goal? What does she want to accomplish? What is something that she sets out to do?
right.
The that I would
I don't want
say,
this to sound like we're just shitting on the female superheroes. That's
oh
not what
God,
we're
no.
doing.
Oh God, no.
It's
They're
just,
doing this with all their characters. This is just the most recent example
well,
Yeah.
that we're
hey, I
picking
really
out.
like the this Black Widow stuff that they kind of introduced into recent things, or talking about the relationship with her sister or whoever that was,
Elena.
Florence Pugh, and that I enjoyed
Yeah,
Mhm.
that.
she was great.
Florence Pugh's great. Look, there's nothing. The problem is what we're talking about here is that it's just a Marvel thing. It's not a
Yep.
female or this character or anything.
No, it's
It
just
is a
Marvel in
Marvel
general.
Studios problem
Well,
that
they're turning
Yep.
this Marvel show, or the Marvel's character of Carol Danvers Marvel, they're repurposing it to have more impact. Like Bradshaw was saying, in the comics, there wasn't really a big kind of villain arc with them. Like, she was always kind of interacting with other people's narratives and kind of helping them out. Or
She was a person that showed up on teams a lot.
she
You
to
know,
me is always going to
showed
be
up on
like
Avengers teams and stuff. She was never. They've tried solo series for her many times, and they always get canceled. Although she did have one recently that ended at issue like 40 something, which I think is the longest she's ever had a series. But
to me she's
otherwise, it always you know gets canceled early because I mean, you basically have to create a universe around her.
right, go
The
ahead.
same with like Monica, but like she had some more stories that pushed her development later
there-
on, but she was always has been a team book person too, right? The only one to have, I guess, consistently maybe quote unquote successful solo stuff is Kamala, and she's only existed for 10 years.
Mhm. They just did not give the character of Carol Danvers in the MCU any character. I mean,
Mm-mm.
yeah,
It was here you are now the strongest.
your personality, your goals, what you set out to accomplish, like what you are striving to do, is just to show people that you can be as good or better than others.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, she was
and then
basically the
that's
Deus
it.
Ex Machina of Endgame. When she shows up, she's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna take a straight punch to the face from Thanos' gauntlet, and I'm gonna fucking take it. And I'm gonna grab him." And then it's the women get shit done scene, and she had to be a part of that. So it's like they were utilizing her in such a really ham-fisted way
Mhm.
that
Right.
that maybe fans of her comic were like, "I don't like this. This portrayal of it. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't like
What the
this."
fuck what is Carol supposed to be like at the end of this movie? I'm like, what happens now? One of the three characters is stuck in a different dimension. One of
Yep.
the three characters goes off to form the Young Avengers, and one of the other
Yep.
three, who fucking knows?
Hang out with the cat.
Yeah, I guess
Which
just hang around.
about time with the Young Avengers thing, because they've been tooling that around for quite a few years. But
Well, I just
now it's
don't.
to a point where nobody's gonna care. So
Because who the fuck are they going to bring in? Scar, the like shitty little rat tail kid that we saw for 2 seconds in She-Hulk.
you have the ones we've had so far. we had Billy and Teddy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who are coming back.
Or Tommy, not Teddy. We haven't had Teddy.
Yeah, we have. Or not Teddy, Billy and
Tommy.
fucking what's his brother's name?
Billy and Tommy, isn't it?
Tommy. Yeah, Billy and Tommy we've had. They're coming back.
You
Yeah, we
can
haven't
say
had
it 3
Teddy yet.
times, Wilson. Just like Beetlejuice.
Yeah, exactly. And then Cassie,
Tommy.
Cassie Lang,
Cassie Lang. We got the Iron Heart.
got Art, I guess.
Yes.
There's America Chavez,
Mm-hmm.
Eli Bradley,
Sure.
who we saw for like 2 minutes in
Is Hawkeye chick gonna be that too?
Yeah,
Yep,
she'll.
yep.
She
I
was
remember
in
she
the
gotta be
scene.
in there. If they weren't so now averse to Kang stuff, you could have Iron Lad, but I mean, yeah, the we've met a bunch of people who are or could be young Avengers, and they've been setting the stage for, but
And
it's
like,
been so long.
yeah, it really has. Because we're probably not ever going to get a Hulkling now in the way of like Teddy the Skrull.
Yeah.
Like
Hey,
that's
that would have been a good thing to put in, like, I don't know, Secret Invasion or one of the Captain Marvel movies. Teddy.
God forbid,
That
Eric,
could-
that they
God forbid they have something perfect for conflict, being a Skrull Kree hybrid
yeah.
who is part of noble lineage on both sides, so they
Yeah,
both want him.
In the comics, isn't he like, I don't know if
He's
currently,
Marvel's son.
but he's like at one point recently he was like leading the whole Kree Empire, wasn't he?
Yes. Yep.
And goddamn,
Yep.
man, yeah, they fucking because they shied away from, we are not going to have these Skrulls be antagonists. They are going to be the good
No.
guys. They're going to be
No.
refugees.
And we're just gonna have a faction of them be bad guys in this.
Mhm. And we're never going to get
And
a
it's-
Super Skrull either.
No, I mean, we kind of did, but
I don't agree with that. I think, yeah,
hashtag
that's what they were
hashtag
trying
not
to
my
do.
Super Skrull.
God, man.
But we did.
But even in the early days of the MCU, you had like that kid Harley in 3,
Yeah. Oh yeah, you
He
can make
sh-
him Iron Lad, I guess, if you wanted to.
or something else entirely. I don't give a shit. Make him a new character. But like, he showed up at Tony's funeral, so
Yeah.
why not? That'd be like, that's at least a character that if he showed up on that team, people might not be too surprised. He's there, like,
Yeah, but now at this
guy
point,
or
nobody's
something.
gonna remember that fuck.
I
Yeah.
barely remembered
You know?
him from Endgame when he showed up. I'm like, oh wait, is that kid from Iron Man 3?
Who's that boy?
Who's that boy?
Who's that older boy that is now a
Who's
younger
that boy?
man?
Why is he shuffling
Who's
his
that
feet
boy?
like I'm supposed to be
What's he
here?
doing here?
Yeah, like, he looks very uncomfortable. Like, I spent a day with this guy like
I just
8 years ago.
I gave him refuge in my house for a little
I
bit.
let him stay in my garage. We got into a bar fight.
I showed him that, maybe you could do this thing with his whatever, and he thought that was a good idea. And then he took it from me. Whatever, I guess.
No, could have, like, so Teddy is a perfect example. There's another young Avenger who's was been around for a while too. There's Novar, who's Marvel Boy. He was another Kree character. Could have been used. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like we say, like, Secret Invasion was a thing that could have worked as a Marvel storyline. Finding out about Teddy and the ramifications of that could have been something they could have dealt with. Like, there's all sorts of
I mean,
stuff they could have done, but they didn't.
They also, like, we second Avengers movie that we ever got, and that's still very early on in the MCU lifespan, was Ultron. They fucking blew that load early too. And don't get me wrong, I relish James Spader as Ultron, but like, what at this point, because I know he's a runaway character. I can't remember his name, but like his
Victor.
I love that character, and for him to be around and included would be fun, and it
Yep.
is just like, yeah, we can't, you and like we sitting here know like, oh man, I'm never gonna get to see a cool like Skrull Kree skirmish. I'm never gonna get to see like probably a
Well,
lot
we're
of this
going
stuff.
on we're going on what, like 3-4 years or something without finding out what the hell happened with Vision too.
And Vision, and they don't
He just
like,
became White Vision, fucked off, and then we haven't seen anything since.
yeah.
Yeah.
What is Paul
He was
like?
supposed to get a TV show, but who knows if that's happening.
Speak up, Paul Bettany.
Yeah, Vision
what-
Quest is supposed to happen, but
Yes,
I
that's
don't
what
know.
it was. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know
dude.
where that's at. I mean, we're finally getting Agatha, which I could give two shits about. Nobody's going to care about because
I don't care.
the hype based off of that character's been dead for 3 years. But
They've been
Yes.
going full on, TV is where we want a lot of these characters until we kind of fine tune how we're gonna do
well, and then
Fantastic
they're
Four
just
and
now
X-Men and stuff like
realizing
that.
right now they're just realizing, hey, maybe we should run TV shows like TV shows instead of like movies. So I mean, like that was a recent thing that they're like, oh, we're gonna stop with the stupid way we've been running our TV shows, as if they're like hours long movies, and now we're gonna treat them like TV shows and have showrunners and like all this stuff to actually and have them be multi-season, like have it be a TV show instead of this whatever inconsistent nonsense they've been doing. TV shows.
Well, it's like we're gonna slow feed you this story beat by beat, and
We're just going to turn a movie into
that's
a
what they did
6-hour
with,
TV
like,
show.
Obi-Wan. Like Obi-Wan could have been a movie.
Yeah.
Just did that.
Yeah.
You can do that. I think that was one of the projects I wanted to do, is just take all the pieces from Obi-Wan that kind of made sense narratively and just make it into its own movie, because you can do that.
Right.
Could.
And I like that. I'm happy that now they're finally realizing this, so they'll do stuff more efficiently TV wise, maybe. But like, because there's a bunch of stuff, as we said, a bunch of characters, a bunch of whatever that they introduced a bunch of during these last two phases that we just haven't seen since. You know what I mean? And don't know if they're ever going to show up again. Like Moon Knight, right? Like we just don't know. Like
What? It must have been something with the changing of hands at some point with like Iger and all these different bigwigs, like all the different type of movement that has happened since Marvel Studios like was founded.
Well, the acquisition of like 20th Century Fox, like that kind of threw a wrench in. Like, what do we want to start doing?
Well, they were in the clearly like you had Phil Coulson. That was like he showed up in Iron Man, in
connective
Thor,
tissue.
Yeah, that was some connective tissue there. You had mentions of like different things going on, different people. You didn't get like tiny little pictures of just a cameo of like Steve Rogers or something like that. And even that was enough to make it feel like, hey, yeah, I remember that guy. And it kept the presence in your brain. But like you said, like there is just so much. Like I feel like Wakanda Forever didn't happen, or I like dreamed it or some shit.
Right.
And I'm starting.
Namor gonna ever come back? I don't know. Like
probably not.
Like it's just like
that also had nothing to do with multiverse.
No, and like the a lot of these last two have been forgettable, and like, I mean, now with the thing, a lot of it, there's a lot of upheaval because of like when was it Bob Chapek or whatever, the last guy, the after Iger post Iger guy. Or after Iger, pre Iger.
Right.
He was the one that like wasn't he the one that pushed all the
That's all he did.
Yeah, he was the one who pushed all the TV or the streaming stuff, right?
Yeah.
All the TV shows and shit. And then when Iger came back in, he's just like, no, this is stupid. We're gonna cut this back. And that's why we have all the reduction of the TV shows and the pushing back and the reconfiguring and whatnot, and the positioning of now with the TV stuff, like you put in Daredevil, Born Again. The thing about that was a procedural that mainly focused on Matt Murdock, the lawyer, and you don't see him in costume until episode 4. Like that was what we had heard about it.
Mhm.
and then they're like, nope, we're doing this with TV now, so we're going back to the drawing board with Born Again. And they'd only shot like a few episodes or something. And they're like, we're going back to drawing board now. We got showrunners now. They picked up the guy who's the showrunner on the Netflix Punisher TV show, and he's the showrunner now on Daredevil Born Again. They're reconfiguring things for that. And then now like Marvel or like Echo, that TV show, which apparently Marvel, like the people higher ups were none too happy about it, and that's why all the episodes are dropping at once.
Oh no!
For that.
Oh my god! I didn't know that.
Well,
all
I will say that the
all
trailer
6
for that,
episodes
like,
are dropping at once,
Ugh. Okay.
the trailer looked
they're-
engaging.
and they're branding it as something
Oh,
now.
yeah.
What's it called? But it's basically
That doesn't look good for
so
them.
they
Do you
can-
think? Do you think that move
so they
makes
can have-
them look good in that light of like, hey, this is a very inclusive kind of hero character we want to focus on?
but it's a character nobody knows or cares about.
But
Yeah.
a
In
certain
the comics,
community,
too,
a
she's
certain
barely
community
there.
might, like, hey, this is great.
No,
we're being,
yes,
we're
yes.
being
To be
shown.
fair, yes.
This
To
is
be
not.
fair, yes. I'm just saying, by and large, in the comic books, this is a character that pops up every once in a while and is not, a focal point. They keep bringing her back and stuff, and now that she was brought into TV and stuff, she started showing up more. Like she was in the last run of Avengers, where she actually became I think it was her, or was it someone else? She became the Phoenix, I think. Or somebody else. I don't remember. I think it was her.
What would be cool if they, instead of having showrunners from Punisher start this new Daredevil thing, and then having this Echo thing also kind of related in some aspects, with a villain being a main part of both kind of characters.
Well, Daredevil's going to be showing up in Echo, like he's in the trailer.
Yeah.
Yes, but here's my thing. I'd rather it be a combination of the two and just make it a movie, like we've been saying, because if they're dropping it all at once, there's a reason behind that. It's because each episode is going to be like a slog. It's going to be a slog to get through the next week and be like, all right, what happens? What happens here? What happens here? You're just going to want to keep going. So condense it.
Yep.
Turn it into a Daredevil movie with the Murdoch from, the Netflix, and then incorporate her as like a separate B plot or something like that, or just a A2 plot. It's like you have A1 being Daredevil, A2 being Echo. Somehow they come together in the middle. They have both the same kind of focus on beating a villain or whatever, and doing it that way. To me, that would make more of an impact than just a separate Echo and a separate Daredevil.
Daredevil to me is like one of the few instances where I want it to be a TV show and not a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think Daredevil's a character you can do a lot with in the TV sphere. But yeah, I get what I get that.
What
they're calling
burnout.
it.
There's so much burnout with the TV stuff. I mean,
100%.
We talked about Loki being like one of my favorite finales of a series, and the only one that kind of comes close to a great ending was the WandaVision one, and the only
which is the first one.
Yeah, I was like, great. I did not like Moon Knight.
Yeah,
I liked some stuff in it, but I did not like how they fumbled that landing.
Yeah, Loki. It came to me back to Loki. It came to me the other day when I was thinking about season 2 and stuff, and then how I was just kind of interested, and I was like, you know what, this is just a less fun, less interesting version of Doctor Who is basically what season 2 of Loki has been like.
Yeah, that's very
true.
good.
Yep, that's.
But yeah, anyway, what they're calling what Echo is and good stuff going forward is Marvel Spotlight, which is it's a thing from the comics, like that name. It was a series where is an anthology series that kind of spotlighted less traditional like superheroes. Like Werewolf by Night and Ghost Rider both made their first appearances in Marvel Spotlight. Um, but yeah, I guess the quote, Marvel's head of streaming, Brad Winderbaum, said, Marvel Spotlight gives us a platform to bring more grounded, character-driven stories to the screen. In the case of Echo, focusing on street-level stakes over larger MCU continuity. Just like comics fans didn't need to read Avengers or Fantastic Four to enjoy a Ghost Rider Spotlight comic, our audience doesn't need to have seen other Marvel series to understand what's happening in Maya's story. Even though you do kind of have to know what happened in Hawkeye, but still.
Yeah, kind of.
A little bit. Which I'm sure that they will have a very, very efficient and quick way of just recapping the stuff that you might want to know from Hawkeye in the early parts of Echo.
Yeah. You're going to have to, because obviously Kingpin's going to show up missing an eye, so.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple elements to Marvel that I've always connected with, and that has always made it feel different, at least from other comics to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the nature of comics themselves, like when you have the Marvel, line, and like New York, you've got fucking the Baxter Building with the Fantastic Four. You go upstate, you've got the X Mansion and that whole campus. Mm-hmm. In New York City, you've got Luke Cage.
Everybody.
And, like everybody's fucking there, dude. Like Daredevil, Spider-Man, Iron Fist, like Heroes for Hire. Let me
literally everybody.
Let me see some more of this shit, and then stop just giving us like either like they did Madripoor, and people were kind of thinking like, oh shit, is this like, are they going to be opening up, like, are we going to see like the Savage Land? Are we ever going to see the underground, what do they call them, the fucking nomads or some shit that love like the mole people and the sewer people, like the
Morlocks.
Yeah. Fucking Krakoa. There's just like, every time that I read a Marvel comic book, it's so easy to be like, oh yeah, this place is out there. Like they're here in New York, or they're out in the desert, and these people are doing their thing. But like thousands of miles away, there's fucking dinosaurs, baby.
Yeah. We have yet to see some dinos.
I want some of that weird, silly shit. I want, like, Krakoa and the kind of stuff like the original X-Men team going there. And
but Marvel Studios has been getting lost in the sauce, where it's like, we had them, the first example of them taking the wrong lessons is jamming the Iron Man humor into every movie. Now we have the everyone likes that it's a connected thing, so we're just really connect everything without having a plan for it. Mm-hmm. And like they just continuously are following the wrong lessons, and like it just increases the the negative feeling overall. And I mean, them being the main ticket for superhero movies contributes to what is and what may just be because of their quality, like the quote unquote superhero fatigue. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, obviously the trend of them being huge blockbusters wasn't going to happen forever, but like when you have your main ticket being, getting continuously lower and lower audience attendance and lower ratings, and like the shiny veneer is off, and now people love ripping on MCU stuff, and like
just being hyped for that post credits or mid credits.
Yep, that was another wrong lesson they took. It's the chickens are coming home to roost on it, and the fact that if they are the main ticket in town, if they don't recover or if they don't do something, they're basically, taking out that entire genre. I mean, the genre is still going to exist, but like, it's not going to have the stranglehold on the box office like it did.
Yeah, they are laying down the tracks while the train is driving, and they're so concentrated on fucking down the line. Is that at least that's what it seemed like? Maybe up
Yeah.
until kind of recently when they're retooling some stuff, but like,
Yeah, it really seemed like they had plans for the longest time. Now it seems like they have no plan, and they're just kind of trying to figure it out. You know?
and but even when they did have some of that plan still in place, when they were being like, I think it was like a couple years ago, they were saying like, "All right, buckle up, motherfuckers, because we got the multiverse saga. We got our big cock of Agatha drop on it." Like they were just like, "Hey,
Yep.
boom, 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 movie, TV show, boom, boom, boom."
Yep.
And they've rolled back on some of that. It,
Oh yeah.
as an audience member, it was like, why should I care about each individual one? Because anybody that goes to the movie, what they are going to take out of it is like how it connected to everything, how it sets up further stuff, and whatever the post
Yep.
credits thing was. That's all people are going to care about,
Yep.
not this one scene that was really funny or they did something super creative in. It's just like, oh, it was a
Yep.
fine
And maybe
movie.
they could get away with that when it's characters we already knew and we're familiar with. You know, like on a third Captain America movie or Thor movie, you can get with that. But like if you're doing a brand new property and you're like, who cares about what's going on here? But you know, here's hint towards whatever. Here's credits. Here's whatever. People aren't gonna care if they don't. You know what I mean? Like that's not gonna, contribute to a lasting thing if you're just doing that, hitting these marks on character movies nobody knows at this point.
There's definitely a playbook, and they've been playing that same playbook for a while now, and it's been getting kind of stale, and they've been fumbling, so they have to
Well, and
write a new one.
like I said, it was the comfortable lull they settled themselves into, quote unquote, worked when like I said, when it was characters we were familiar with. But like you can't rest on your laurels and think that that's just going to work with people we don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't. If you're not making, what blows my mind is this happened twice in the last couple years with Quantumania and with The Flash, where like both people in the studios and whatever thought they had like the best movie they've had on their hands, and then like the movie comes out and nobody cares. You know what I mean? Like, or like lambasts it completely. You know what I mean? Like, they were so like Marvel Studios was so excited about Quantumania, and then it comes out and not a lot of people go, and not a lot of people liked it. You know what I mean? And same with DC, where there's a bunch of people they went on that whole campaign of like showing the movie early to a bunch of people and having them give reactions, and then like the studio was all turbo hyped and like this is like some people being like this is the best superhero movie, whatever. It comes out, nobody goes to it, and not a lot of people like it, and they're just like, I don't understand. And it's like, obviously you're disconnected from everything if you think, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not even like it's not great for a Marvel movie or something. It's just they just weren't great movies in general on both accounts. Like
Marvel Studios they're sitting there as a group and they are spending their day to day thinking about leading things down this line instead of focusing on what they are doing and making that a quality like piece of product.
well, they're running into a problem that happens in comics too, which is when you have a strong like editorial stranglehold, like, or in this case it's the studio that is kind of like the comics editors. Like you're stifling the creativity and just forcing your will on it and taking out some of the excitement. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to get people who are excited to work on something or going to put their all into it when they know that anything that they do can and will just be neglected by the studio because it's not what they want for it. You know what I mean?
I really think that the entire MCU would look a lot different if Edgar Wright had actually been able to make the kind of Ant-Man movie that he wanted to make.
Yep.
Like, let's how about we do that? How about we make these movies because we have a story to tell, not because
Yep.
we have like a blank that we need to fill in the
A
space.
franchise to maintain.
Studios
Yeah.
need to get out of the way and let the artists take over at some point. And like the
Yeah.
Marvels, where they hired kind of a rookie director
Don't
to
it?
just kind of.
But that's what they've been doing.
I know,
right?
but
they've been
that's
doing
the
that.
thing. That's why these are kind of failing. Like, look at what
Yep.
Raimi did with Multiverse of Madness. I really enjoyed what he did, like stylistically, with the character,
Yep.
and his like artistry came through, and his signature,
Yep.
his notes from like all of his previous movies came through there. His little like tongue in cheek kind of like, hey, remember this from this movie? Like, yes, that's servicing like I really like Raimi or whatever. I don't know a lot
Well,
of these
could you
directors.
imagine what he would? Can you imagine what he would be able to do if they didn't have reins on him as they
Yeah,
did? He had looser reins than other people did. Same with like Gunn after that first Guardians, but like imagine if you let them just make the movie they fucking wanted to make, and
they don't have people coming to them and saying, I've written a Spider-Man story that I think is going to knock your socks off and people are going to be really excited to see it. They're
No.
saying, we have what have we got on the books, guys? Okay, so we've got an upcoming Ironheart, we got this and this and this. Okay, wheel somebody in to make that one, wheel somebody in to make that one.
If you notice, there's no line of directors that are sitting there going, "Oh, I want to get in on this Marvel thing," like big directors. You know what I mean? Like,
That's a very
there's
good
none of
point.
those. It's always, like I said, it's always they get like either like indie directors or people who have or TV directors
Or they fuck
or
up like the Chronicle dude,
newer.
like the Chronicle guy that made the the other Fantastic Four. Trank, yeah, they fucked him over. Like the studio like got down his throat, and I'd like to see what his cut of the original one would turn out to be. He might have had a really interesting idea.
But like it's because of and they get those people because they're more willing to play ball.
Yeah, but I don't.
Either at
they should really read the room. Like honestly,
yeah.
For me, like read the room. They have abundance of people that love this medium, love these characters, want to see it be done truthfully. But then you have another subset of people that are just cinema lovers that want to go to a movie because they know the director makes good shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
When you were talking about Raimi, like I completely agree, and some of it was like, yes, that is those were things that I liked about the movie. But then I also now, God damn it, why Sam Raimi? Because all of the things that he does with his artistry and the techniques that he uses, I enjoy. So I honestly don't give a shit about if this connects to anything else in the MCU. Let's just have a fun Doctor Strange movie made by Sam Raimi. That sounds amazing.
So I like the mess that Gunn has, made with the DC stuff, where it's like, let's make individual stories with their own voices that happen to be within the same universe.
Because you're so pigeonholed like to such a degree, like you're put into this box and you have to maneuver within the confines of that box. But like if there's more freedom, in DC, I'd go there.
Yeah, who better to know that than somebody who worked in that Marvel environment and was somebody who you saw thrived when they let him do more things that he wanted to do.
Exactly.
What I mean?
That was the movie Chef from Jon Favreau. That was what that movie was all about.
Yeah.
It's like he was a chef at a really well-renowned restaurant, basically Disney, and he was a chef director of Iron Man, and he was being told cook this on the menu, but he wanted to make something different. He wanted to do something special. Like, no, you gotta stick to the menu, bud. So it's an allegory for his relationship with what happened with studio execs at Disney. And it's just a perfect encapsulation of like, you guys are shooting yourself in the foot if you're not letting the creative side of this medium thrive and flourish, because you're not a creative person. And I run into this with my profession right now, is that I'm dealing with people that are looking at the numbers. But I'm looking
Yeah.
at it as like, how will this connect with the audience? What is the best use of my skill set that I can use to produce something that will connect with an audience and get them to buy in, right? Like, that's my main thing. I'm trying to figure out a creative way to tell this story and do whatever. But then it's like, well, you have to hit all these certain things in the whatever
Yep.
algorithm, and all these things have to be in there. And like, that's when I see like, oh, this is like a studio relationship. You don't know creativity. I do, and we're trying to compromise on things that are just, it's a business. It's very much a business.
Again?
Making a movie is basically you're starting a short-term business until
Right.
you sell your product to the masses, and they either connect
And
with it or
again, a
not.
smart idea on Warner's part to have two dudes. One dude that is coming at it from a creative experience with James Gunn, and then somebody coming at it from a studio slash, um, like what's the word I'm looking for? Um, like the business side of it, like Peter Safran, who's a producer guy, right? So it's like you have those. It's striking the balance, which I don't know how studios have never quite found a way to, or care to find a way to do that, of striking a balance between, stick stuff and the money making stuff. But like,
You would think the big ones could figure that out by now. Like, they're Disney.
yeah,
They have theme parks. They have crazy toys. Like, they have so much stuff
yeah.
that they can
What about-
like pull
But
from.
like
Like,
those
why
big
is this the big thing? Like, you're just
the big
rehashing the
big
same
companies
old.
the big companies, as big of as they are extremely risk averse, right? They don't like risks. They don't want to put the money out there, have some sort of guarantee, or what they think is a guarantee that they're going to get a return on it. So they don't want to take those risks. And like, it's silly because they're the ones who should be taking those risks. But like, yeah, I don't know.
Other
It's
people
silly.
are gonna make those risks and actually come out on top, and
Yeah.
Disney's gonna be like, "Oh shit!" Well,
Oh crap!
Oh,
Now we got to do our version of it, and it's not quite
taking
as successful.
taking risks
Um,
isn't always anonymous with like spending. There's
no,
a
but to them it is.
plethora. I know, but like that just shut your mouth, Disney. No, like let small filmmakers make their stories because they are going to
Yeah,
tell a good story because it's going to be a good product, and that might be something to
right.
give you a bigger return. Like,
And obviously, this DC thing, we don't know how it's going to work out. Obviously, there's still going to be studio, interference to a degree, but the idea that they're going to let them make more stylistic choices and do more interesting things potentially is a good sign. But like, if that whole industry comes tumbling down because Marvel keeps shitting the bed, what good's that gonna do? Maybe it helps reinvigorate, but I don't know.
it needs to get to that rock bottom. It needs to get to
Oh,
that point where they're like,
DC's
"Oh,
at that rock bottom
I
right
need to
now.
figure this out." Warner Brothers,
Oh, DC. Well, just DC
just DC.
movies. Well, the movies.
I think we can safely say that Warner Brothers is not in like they're in muddy water for sure because the whole
Yeah. Well,
this
nobody.
whole thing with
People legit aren't going to DC movies because they don't think they count because of the gun stuff coming up. So like all the stuff that has come out in the announcement of the James Gunn stuff to now is not getting people wanting to go to it because they just don't think it matters because it's all going to be relaunched. You know what I mean? Like, we'll see what happens with fucking Aquaman 2. I don't think that's going to fare very well.
like Warner Brothers, they just announced that they were going to actually be allowing that movie Coyote versus Acme. Have you heard about that?
Yeah,
I did. Yeah, I was just bringing that up because that's a perfect segue into that.
There's that
Batgirl
Batgirl.
that,
There was like one other thing I saw them mention, but like that to me is, you've got all these people that are saying like, this is actually a great movie, and why are you not releasing it?
Yeah, so now there's some hope with that Coyote versus Acme thing. I
Because it
heard,
was just
but
a tax write-off or something.
Mhm.
Like they just see it as like, yeah,
well, they
just
Batgirled it,
they did, yeah.
girled it essentially. But instead of just completely burying it, they were like, oh well, because it was finished. I think is part of it.
Mhm.
It's not like not that girl where like it needed reshoots and reconfiguring and all this stuff. Like from the sound of it, it's finished. But I don't know. It's probably just like they were coming off of all the strikes and like they need money, and that was way to get some sort of tax write-off was to just cancel that one because they're like, we don't have much riding on this. So
They did, and they did that with Scoob Holiday Haunt also.
yep,
Yeah, that was the other one another name I was seeing.
yeah,
that
that was done too.
That to me is, it's such a, it is like a very strange practice, no matter what the franchise is, whether it's Batgirl, Scooby-Doo, or any of this. It's just like you're spending however much to make this stuff, and
You bastard.
I don't know, man. It's weird.
I think we've exhausted this discussion a little bit. We digressed
Yeah,
enough.
we just
on
made
it.
ourselves more frustrated with movies in general because as we digressed more. We kept digressing.
I am definitely fed up with Jonathan Majors and timelines and multiversal threats and incursions. I'm fucking so done.
Give me a break. Yeah. Give me a break. Break me off a piece
Jake
of
me up
that.
a piece of that. Kit Kat bar.
Fantastic Four.
I-
Just give me those. Give me those 4 pieces of Kit Kat.
Rewatching
Yep.
Kenneth Branagh's Thor, I was like, man, these Dutch angles. What a simple time we were in, you know?
Look at this bleached eyebrows. Wow.
You took the words out of my mouth. Look at the bleached
Those
eyebrows.
bleached
on
eyebrows,
this man.
dude. That was rough.
But you get like Anthony Hopkins and fuck, man, those
Yeah.
that it really was like back to back to back. Iron Man, Thor, Captain America. God damn, they were dropping it.
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, they were slapping
Iron
their
Man
cock on
2.
Iron Man 2.
the
Iron Man
table.
3. All right. Well, hope you enjoyed this discussion, this digression. We'll talk more about stuff in the future. I like to just come back to our digressions and just kind of talk about what pop culture things are happening right now as far as media, movies, TV shows. A lot of our big hits are talking about the DC kind of overtake from James Gunn. That was great to just let Bradshaw rant about that and all the different things that he kind of announced.
It's actually exciting, that's why.
Yeah, it was exciting, and to know like this guy has a vision and things like that, where the vision of Marvel Studios is kind of waning. They're getting some kind of glaucoma, I think.
I think it's making people realize that there might not have really been a vision at all. So
Yeah, Vision is off. White Vision is off doing something
oh
else.
yeah, there's that too. The vision's gone.
The Vision's gone.
He flew up into the sky and just never ever turned around. He just kept going.
He pissed
In
off.
multiple ways, the vision is gone from Marvel Studios.
But yeah, just wanted
That's
to
such a
say
shame.
thanks for listening to us rant and talk about this and be frustrated. Maybe you're frustrated too. Let us know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe and hit the like button, and make sure to watch future things that we create. And yeah, we'll get back to our regular scheduled uploads. Thank you. Goodbye.
Cool.
Adios.